Man, Dave Lean and DL in the house. Give it to me. A little baby block. Get that garbage out of here. Beautiful.
Welcome to another edition of Talk Your Exposure. This is our first episode of season number 2. Oh my God, it's season number 2, Devontae. I'm with my co-host Devontae Campbell. What's up, man?
It's good to be here, bright and early. Let's get this show started today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have a very, very, very special guest with us in the building today. The voice of the Toronto Raptors and analyst of TSN, Jack Armstrong. How are you, sir?
Stephen, Devontae, hello. Yep. Good morning. Great to be with you guys, and honor and privilege to be here, and excited to chat some hoops and whatever else you want to chat here for a little bit.
Most definitely. We always start off the show with Devontae, so we'll go right to it.
Now, Jack, we like to get the blood flowing here a little bit. I'm going to give you some quick hitters, some this or that players in the NBA. Might be some past players in the NBA as you're a little bit more knowledgeable than the norm. You got about 6 seconds to answer, then we'll go to the next category, all right? Okay. First group is Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter.
Same time, you want an answer about?
Whoever you would pick between the two.
Well, I'll say both right now. If they had stayed together and played in Toronto, the Raptors would have been in the NBA Finals a few different times. Probably would have championship, and at the very least, would have been in the Eastern Conference Finals almost every year.
Fair to say. Okay, fair to say. I definitely agree with you. Jason Kidd, Steve Nash.
Oh boy. I would say Steve Nash is probably the better pure point guard, but Jason Kidd was the better two-way player.
Okay, fair enough. Gary Payton, Steve Francis.
Gary Payton by a mile. Gary Payton was just a great competitor, terrific, impactful guy on both sides of the ball.
Okay, and last one for you here. Mr. Fundamental, Tim Duncan or Olajuwon?
I'm going to go Olajuwon. I just think the guy just was just a dominant player in his prime, collegiately and obviously in the pros, just dominant.
Gotcha.
Most definitely. So I don't know if you recall or not, but you and Brad Fay a while ago, it was about 15 years ago for my bar mitzvah, made a video for me for my bar mitzvah on Sportsnet. You guys were talking about my team and whatnot. You were talking about all that stuff. I still have the video actually. I don't know if you're familiar with the video or not.
I'm not familiar with the video. I mean, I've done so many different videos over the years. It kind of just all blends together, but I had a great experience. I worked at Sportsnet before I worked at TSN, and I had a great time. I used to do the NBA coverage for them as well as the NCAA tournament every year. And Brad is a dear friend. I was at his wedding, and Brad he and his lovely bride Julie and their kids are dear friends. And so I remember taping a lot of different stuff with Brad over the years. So I didn't realize that I did that for you.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was honestly at the time I was 13 years old and I saw this video, and well, I call him Uncle Brad. He's a longtime friend of my mom's. But Uncle Brad, he both you and him were on, and I was so stunned. I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is awesome. So I just wanted to thank you for that from the beginning. I just wanted to thank you right from the beginning. I know that you're a big family person. I want to know what does family mean to you in itself right now, especially throughout this year and everything going on.
Wow, it means a lot. It was interesting. Today's February 4th as we take this. Yesterday was my mom's 94th birthday.
Happy belated.
So it was I talk to my mom every day, and if anyone has heard me speak, my mom's my hero. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and she raised 4 boys in Brooklyn. My dad died of a heart attack when I was 7. And, she's just an amazing person. And to just have her in my life and to have her show the way for me and my three older brothers to get where we've gotten. My parents are immigrants from Ireland, first generation. And, you know, you see that a lot in Canada with so many folks that have come over recently trying to, you know, make it. And I feel so fortunate to have had someone guide us through those experiences. So that's family. And then the family I have, you know, my lovely wife and three sons, and I'm blessed. And family is also, you know, your dearest friends and your colleagues that you work with. I mean, you share a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of twists and turns along the way, and being able to support each other and to you know, really prop each other up sometimes when we need help. Some days I might need it, some days they might need it, but we're all there for each other and all there to help, lend a helping hand. And particularly when you think of what all of us are going through with the lockdowns and the pandemic, you know, being able to be there for people and let them know you love them and let them know you care for them is a really, really important thing.
Most definitely, most definitely. I just got to know. I'm sure all your moments with your family has been great. But what's your most memorable moment with your family? Whether it's your siblings, whether it's your kids, whether it's your wife, whether it's your mom. What's your most memorable moment?
Wow. Memorable moment with my mom recently was her 90th birthday party. That was just really cool. Just kind of like one of those heaven on earth moments where, you know, all the people of your life come together and everybody's in a happy, joyful mood. That would be that. I think with my wife and kids, just literally anytime, the few times I have one son in LA and I have my other two guys in college. My oldest son is already out of college. You know, so the few times that you get together as a family, and literally just the highlight is just sitting around the table having a meal and everyone laughing and busting and having three sons, them busting each other's chops constantly. So ribbing and back and forth and the sarcasm and the competitiveness of it, and you know, their true personalities coming out. So to me, like, those are highlights, just the little things in life of just the banter and the fun and seeing their true personalities come out is a fun thing.
For sure, for sure. I want to ask you, you know, 2020 was a hell of a ride. I feel like we're still in 2020 right now, but, you know, 2020 was a hell of a ride. What, you know, just with COVID, social injustice, you know, up and down in terms of what we can and can't do, lockdowns, this, you know, just everything in general. What do you think we could take away from 2020?
What can I take away from it? I would say this. Sometimes life takes a wrong turn in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I would answer it with 2 points. Number one, in terms of social justice, I hope and pray that the fact that that stuff happened at a time where it really got everybody's attention, because there wasn't a lot else going on. So it got everybody's attention front and center. And I think if the George Floyd situation and a lot of other unfortunate incidents had taken place in a traditional daily lifestyle where COVID didn't exist, it would kind of get glossed over, unfortunately, because there's so much else going on. People are so busy that it doesn't get their attention as much. So when I say sometimes life takes a wrong turn in the right direction, the things that took place were horrible, reprehensible.
Agreed.
And you take from that, though, the fact that bang, like a 2x4 to the head, it got our society in the head and said, hey, everybody needs to wake up and get with the program. So I hope as we all know, change doesn't happen instantaneously. It's a gradual, slow, it's a grind. But I see it happening very, very slowly. But nonetheless, the messages are coming out on a daily basis, and the actions are starting to come out on a daily basis. Obviously, maybe not at the pace sometimes that you want, but nonetheless, you're going from first and 10 to second and 8, and maybe now you're getting a third and 3. You're not there yet, and you're maybe not even in the red zone yet, but you're getting the ball upfield little by little. It's a grind.
For sure.
It's a grind, and
sure.
and then on the other side with the COVID unfortunate and just sad state of affairs in our world is the fact that it's changed how we interact. It's changed how we all live. And I think what I've taken away from that is the fact that I think we really have to start to really appreciate personal relationships and appreciate our time together and how really cool that is. And in spite of the fact that we have Zoom and we have all these different modes of communication that are amazing and breathtaking and groundbreaking, nonetheless, there ain't nothing like hugging somebody, shaking hands, high-fiving, being with somebody, going for a walk with them, hanging out on a nice day, having a cold beer with somebody, just hanging out with your friends in a group, having a lot of laughs, going to the beach together, whatever it may be.
Right.
That hopefully when we get out of this, people have a greater appreciation for each other, and that getting together and being present, physically present, is important. A lot of times you'll see, I know before all this happened, you'd be in a coffee shop and there'd be a couple sitting at the coffee shop across a table from each other having a cup of coffee, and they both have their heads buried in their phone. Maybe when we come out of this, people will put those phones down and really have a little more time for each other and be able to not only hear each other, but actually listen to each other. So those would be my two takeaways in the mindset of sometimes life takes a wrong turn in the right direction.
Very well said.
No, for sure. That was a great point there. Now let's transition into your collegiate days. You're one of the youngest coaches to be a head coach of a D1 program at Niagara. Had the privilege of playing them while I was at Albany. Interesting game, lasted about 2 hours. The lights went out. But explain to us, Jack, how was that experience?
Wow. Well, to be 26 years old, a Division I head coach and coach players only a few years younger than you, it's quite I was one of the youngest Division I coaches ever. I mean, when you talk about Bobby Knight and Rick Pitino and PJ Colissimo, guys like that, they all had better careers than I did, that's for sure. But they were all hired in their early 20s. So to me, it was a great responsibility. I really enjoyed it. It was incredibly stressful. I didn't play in college, so I went back and coached in my high school. I was a high school coach. I was a college assistant. I felt like when I became the head coach at Niagara, I had head coaching experience because I had coached my own team in high school. And even though I was an assistant at Fordham for 4 years, they also had a JV team where I was the head coach. So we would play like the Ivy League teams and things like that. So I had a number of years of head coaching experience where I had my own team and I made my own decisions. So even though I was thrown in it at 26, I could walk in a room and command a room. I could walk in a practice and run a practice because it wasn't me being an assistant. It was me making the decisions. So I felt confident in that, and I felt confident being able to do it. And I felt every year I did it, I got better at it. And I felt like my first 4 years as a head coach, we went from 6 wins to 8 wins to 14 to 23. And in that fourth year, we were in postseason. The creep, crawl, walk, run. I felt like I knew I could do it. But you got to win consistently. And unfortunately, I didn't. And when you don't do that, you get fired. And here I am in broadcasting. But, I'm proud of the fact that in spite, you can look at my career record. I was 100, 154. Nonetheless, more importantly, we graduated 100% of our guys. When I was a 4-year assistant at Fordham and my 10 years at Niagara, every guy that went through our programs graduated. So, I feel good about the fact that I can look in the mirror and I had the best interests of our players at heart. And when I meet up with my former players or talk to them on the phone or whatever the case may be, or text with them, they know I had their back. There were times, as is the case with a parent and a child, as is the case with a boss and an employee, as is the case with a coach and a player, there are moments of confrontation. There are moments of disagreement, but that's good. You need that because change doesn't happen with everybody dilly-dallying around and avoiding serious issues. So, I've had players say to me, man, oh man, there were times I hated you. There were times I was so ticked off at you because you pushed my buttons. But thank you for pushing my buttons. Thank you for challenging me. Thank you for telling me what I needed to hear rather than what I wanted to hear. That's tough love, and it comes from a good place. And I feel really good about the fact that I did that. Was I perfect doing it? Not even close. Were there mistakes I made that I regret? Absolutely. Were there times where I was too harsh or too hard on a player? Yeah, absolutely. Did I handle a situation wrong? Yeah, absolutely. That's all part of it. And I think if you asked every coach in every sport, they would be able to point to instances where they say, man, I messed that up. That wasn't the player's fault. That was my fault. It could be tactical. It could be relationship based, whatever the case may be. Bill Belichick will probably never admit it. But I'm sure when he watches the Super Bowl on Sunday, he might have some regret in terms of maybe how he allowed his relationship to maybe unravel a little bit with Tom Brady. So to me, I think that stuff's really important.
For sure.
And I'm going to give you a 2-in-1 here, Jack. What was your coaching style like? It was an X's and O's, were you a fast-paced type of coach, a player's coach? Then on the other side of the spectrum, what was the hardest thing about recruiting? I know that's a whole process in itself.
Well, my style as a coach was I was super intense. I was super enthusiastic. If you watch me on the sidelines, I rarely sat. Usually by the end of the game, my tie was unbuttoned. I was sweating profusely. I would prounce up and down the sideline. I was fiery, intense, passionate. I expected my teams to play that way. We were balls to the wall. We were going after you. We were coming to get you. I feel like I was super organized, dot every I, cross every T, very detail oriented in practice, very detail oriented in terms of preparation. I do think my emotions at times got the best of me in game. I would allow a bad call or a setback sometimes to get me off kilter a little bit. And there are times I didn't control my emotions as well as I needed to. I learned this later in my coaching career, and it's so true. You can't coach offense with emotion. Offense is like art. Guys have to be calm. They can't play looking over their shoulders. They can't be, nervous about if I take this shot and it's a bad shot, I'm coming out, things like that. You can coach defense and rebounding and effort plays that way. But I think offensively, you have to kind of almost go like this and just let them play a little bit. All your coaching offensively has to be done in practice. Now, in game, you could say to a guy, hey, I don't want that shot, or what the hell kind of pass was that? And you got to give it to him rather than him, those kind of things. But nonetheless, it's how you deliver the message. A lot of it is your sales pitch. So I was pretty fiery. Would I call myself a player's coach? I think I had my players back. I think off the court, I was someone that had their back and was very approachable about issues in their lives, and really cared about them and had good relationships with them. When we got between the lines, I was all business, and we got a job to do, and let's do it. And I would call a guy out, and I would tell them what they needed to hear rather than what they wanted to hear. And again, I think could I coach the same way in 2021 that I did in 1994? I would say no. Could I coach today the way I did in 1986? I would say no. You can't do it. But nonetheless, that was the style back then. And those guys grew up in that, so they were used to it. Today's athlete isn't used to that, and you have to approach them on their terms. Recruiting, the other part of your question, recruiting's like breathing. You got to do it every second. It's a nonstop sales job. You never, ever stop. And you got to try every creative method possible. And honestly, I knew this. Kids don't grow up saying, man, oh man, it's my dream to play at Niagara. It's their dream to play at Kentucky and UCLA and Duke and North Carolina and places like that. And we were in there scuffling away, begging, pleading, doing everything we could to convince, whatever it took, a kid to come play for us. So you're in there a lot of times getting the sloppy seconds and just in there, hustling and bustling and trying to outwork people and trying to get with somebody early on that people sleep on, and maybe try to get them before everyone realizes that this kid's better than maybe anyone thought. So you're trying to get those guys that, on a 5-star scale that maybe people look at as a 3- or a 3 or a 3+. And at my level, I needed 3+, 4-, 4s to really be good every year. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, you're scuffling, you're trying to coach guys up. You get a guy maybe that's a 3- or a 3 in terms of the rating system. And now you got to coach them up to be a 3+, 4- and get to a point where your team can play at that level and have a winning season. So it's hard. Look at the Raptors, man. I mean, when you have 7 undrafted guys, that's hard. I don't care who they are, what they're all about. There's a reason why they didn't get drafted. And now I think, Dwayne Casey, Nick Nurse and their coaching staffs, Masai, Bobby, everybody in their front office, Jeff, the whole crew, Teresa, they've done a remarkable job of, at the highest level, developing people. And so I've been through the whole thing at the high school and college level, coaching wise. My wife is a former Division I head coach. She was a women's soccer coach at Niagara. That's where I met her. She was also the women's basketball assistant. So having someone like that in my life, she's no longer coaching, but she totally gets it because she did it for a living as well. And now myself being in the NBA for 23 years with the Raptors and having the best seat in the house and being around owners and presidents and GMs and pro scouts, advanced scouts, coaches, players, refs, you name it. I've had the greatest seat in the house to get to see the whole thing unfold and to see why certain teams win and why certain teams don't. And it's a remarkable learning lesson. If I ever coached again, I would bring a lot to the table in terms of what I've learned in these last 23 years. But I don't know if I'm smart, but I'm not stupid. I have no desire to ever coach again. If I coach again, it'll be when I retire and someone says to me, hey, would you mind doing me a favor and like being my assistant coach for a high school team where I can hang out in the game, and I'm there to be supportive. And when the game ends, I can have a cold beer and it's not my problem. But the days of me wanting to do it again are over. But I do feel like when I do sit with coaches or sit with basketball people or even people in another sport, I totally get their experience. I might not be able to be completely dialed into the details of what they're going through specifically with their team, but nonetheless, I have empathy for what they do because it's a really hard job.
That's good. That's good. 1998, you transitioned to broadcasting. You come over to Canada. And more so than the States. You're seeing a country now that's more so of a hockey country and more so than a basketball country. What was that transition like, knowing that the United States lives and dies and breathes basketball, but then you come to Canada and all you see or hear about is really hockey?
Stephen, it's interesting. My experience started in 1988. Going from Fordham University in the Bronx to Niagara. Niagara University sits on the Niagara River, and it sits 300 yards away from Canada. Niagara Falls, Ontario. I live in Lewiston, New York, which is directly across from Niagara on the Lake, Queenston.
Yeah.
I live on the Niagara River. My backyard is Canada. So in 1988, when I got to Niagara, we recruited Toronto, we recruited Montreal, we recruited Canada. And I'll never forget, in a staff meeting, I think it was 93 or 94, when it was announced that Toronto and Vancouver were going to get NBA teams. I'll never forget, I sat with our coaching staff and I said, there's the new frontier. I said, guys, because we have been recruiting in Canada, and we were like, man, there's a lot of talent here, but these kids don't know how to play. There aren't a lot of good coaches. People really don't know the rules. They don't know what's going on. But man, oh man, there's talent there. And gradually, little by little, in my time at Niagara, and then particularly when the NBA came, the level of coaching got better. The better teaching got better. Kids watching on television got exposed to it. They got to see the right way and the wrong way to play. Mm-hmm. And little by little, that talent had a framework to work within now that they could learn and develop into actual athletes. I'll never forget recruiting a kid that was a stud athlete that played basketball and volleyball and was an incredible volleyball talent in Ontario, and ended up playing, was a tremendous volleyball player in Canada. But, I tried recruiting him for basketball, and I'm saying, we're going to redshirt you. And by the time you get into your sophomore, junior year, you could be a special NCAA player. He didn't understand. He couldn't understand what I was trying to say, but it would take a few years for him to really learn how to play the game. Sure. But there were a lot of kids like that just had the ability, but didn't know how to do it. Now you got kids with the ability that actually know how to do it. So to see basketball now as the #1 growth sport in Canada, to see basketball in the world stage, that Canada is #2 in the world behind the United States in representation in the NBA. The best is yet to come. I mean, I did Game 6 on TSN with Matt against Golden State. That's the largest television audience in Canadian basketball history. Yeah. I mean, it was like an Olympic gold medal game. It was like a World Cup final. Wow. So we talk about the Vince Carter effect. Let's think about the 2019 championship effect. Mm-hmm. What's that effect going to be on little girls and little boys across Canada? Mm-hmm. And, let's see what that impact is in the next 5 to 10 years. I think the best is yet to come. So I'm very proud to be part of that movement, to be an ambassador for it. As much as I want to sell the Toronto Raptors, I want to sell all 30 of our NBA teams. I want to sell NCAA basketball. I want to sell basketball. So I feel like I'm a little caraway seed in the bakery of life. I'm just doing my part, but nonetheless, selling the gospel, preaching the gospel of basketball.
Sure.
I'll never forget, I spoke at an event in Halifax 2 summers ago, and at this golf tournament, Nathan McKinnon and Sidney Crosby were there. This was right after the Raptors won the title. And I was just chatting with them, and I said, think about it. And they were all excited about the Raptors, and they wanted to talk about the Raptors. And I'm like, man, I'm with Nathan McKinnon and Sidney Crosby. I want to talk about hockey. But they want to talk about the Raptors. And I said to them, I said, think about it. If you guys were 5 or 6 years old right now, would you pick up the skates and stick, or would you be going out in your driveway shooting hoops? And you think of those two guys that are world-class elite athletes.
Yeah.
My thing is now, our job is to convert those kids, those young kids, and get them playing our sport. Mm-hmm. And I think that movement is happening. And I think you can see the shift now in Canada, in spite of the fact that hockey is the number one sport, will always be the number one sport, and it's tradition in Canada. I think you see the changing demographics of Canada, and you see a lot of people come from countries that hockey isn't part of their culture, but soccer and basketball are worldwide sports. They've been exposed to those sports wherever they come from.
For sure.
I think little by little, you're seeing the changing demographics of Canada, and you're seeing the success of the NBA in 26 years have an impact on that. I'm disappointed we don't have Vancouver anymore in the NBA. I think it would be awesome if we had a second NBA team in Vancouver or Montreal. I'm not sure if that'll happen. I hope someday it will. I don't know if it will. But nonetheless, I think the Raptors do a phenomenal job as the nation's team. And we have a big responsibility on television, the fact that all 82 of our games are on national television. We are a franchise unlike any other in the NBA. We are an absolute powerhouse, and the impact of our team is a lot greater than any other franchise in the NBA.
Most definitely. I want to touch up on a couple of things that you touched up on, and then before we get to our game at the end, you talked about the Vince Carter effect, about how that changed Canadian basketball. And just, he won the dunk off. He comes in '99, and he puts Toronto on the map. Although every Canadian was upset when he left. Can you talk to us about what that atmosphere was like when he was was he really that Canadian superstar, or just a superstar in general, in terms of like Hollywood, in terms of you see how LeBron comes in now and everyone wants to go see LeBron. Was that the same thing for Vince Carter as well in Canada and in the States, or was it just here in Canada?
I haven't traveled with LeBron. I've been around LeBron a number of times, obviously when the Raptors have played, and seen all the hoopla, but I've never traveled with him. I could just say that, I did Vince Carter's first game in Boston on February 5th, 1999. The reason I remember the date is Chuck Swirsky called me the other day when he and I were chatting, laughing, and Chuck's with the Bulls now. And he and I called our first game together then. And actually today's February 4th, tomorrow is the anniversary of that. And Paul Pierce was a rookie in that game as well. And both of those guys obviously will be in the Hall of Fame someday. And I coached against Paul when I was the head coach at Niagara. We played Kansas when they were number one at Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse. Believe me, we got our ass kicked. That's why I'm in broadcasting. But nonetheless, Vince Carter had it. There was a stage presence there. There was pedigree. He played from Carolina. Michael Jordan was the star. Michael Jordan played at Carolina. Michael Jordan had retired from the Bulls in '98 after that last championship with the Bulls, and obviously came back a few years later with the Wizards. It was totally different circumstances, but so people wanted that heir apparent. Kobe was a great young talent, and we had a lot of that going on. But nonetheless, when Vince Carter started doing those magical things for the Raptors, it put Vince Carter on the map. It put the Raptors on the map. It put basketball on the map in Canada. And it brought a lot of people that were skeptics into the game. I'll never forget these old hockey pucks saying, "Hey, my grandson or granddaughter want me to take them to a Raptor game," or my next door neighbor gave me tickets to a game, and I went. I never imagined how much fun it was. I could never imagine how. Wow! And so little by little, we started drawing more people under the tent and luring more people in. And but when you asked about Vince Carter, like the phenomena, I can recall many times in his first few years when he was really, as they say, blowing up. We would land, on a back-to-back and get into a city at 1:32 in the morning, and everyone's exhausted, and you get off the bus, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people standing outside the hotel, and it's a complete mob scene. It's like traveling with Drake or the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or whatever, where it's craziness. And now you have all these security concerns and all these hanger-ons, and it was crazy. So it was amazing. And they weren't there to see me. They weren't there to see Del Curry. They weren't there to see Doug Christie or Muggsy Bogues or even Tracy. They were there to see Vince, and it was an amazing thing.
That's good. That's good. Last question before you play a quick game at the end. I just got to know, 2019, the Raptors get it, or 2018, the Raptors get another Vince Carter-like player in Kawhi Leonard. It works out. They win the championship. How did that? First of all, what was that atmosphere like? Just the atmosphere to finally win the championship. Because I'm a diehard Raptors fan myself. So when they won the championship, for me, I was like, I almost wanted to cry. I wanted, I was very happy. I was excited. What was it like for you to finally witness that and, seeing what, 21 at the time it was 23 years, but in 23 years, you got to see them win one time?
Well, a few things. Number one, in Canada, that was the first title of the four major sports since 1993 in terms of Toronto with the Blue Jays. So for a lot of people in Toronto and Southern Ontario and across Canada, that was kind of like, for the younger generation, their first championship. So the whole country got on board. So it was amazing. The Kawhi Leonard trade was masterful. Mm-hmm. It was, you knew there was high risk, but there was high reward. And Masai Ujiri was willing to push all his chips into the middle of the table and take the risk. And it worked out beautifully. The other thing I would say is that it brought a nation together. It was just remarkable to see the scenes outside Scotiabank Arena, but more importantly to me, to see the images in town squares across Canada, the official watch parties, the unofficial watch parties, people, the amount of business the business being done by restaurants and bars and all that. It was just a phenomenal thing. So to have that, and here we are less than 2 years of that happening, it seems like it happened 20 years ago, but it was a great experience. It was a magical experience. And I'm so fortunate to have just been along for the ride. And I have a bracelet I wear when I run, kind of has your ID on it. God forbid anything ever happened. When I travel, I wear it. And it has my vital information on it and all that, God forbid. So you wear it, but it allows you to put a saying on it. And what I have on it, it says, I have on it, the joy is in the journey. And, when you reach the destination, it's a really fun thing. And I literally, I have a book right here. We the champs, right? I mean, that's the destination when you're holding a trophy. And that's really cool. But the whole joy is in the entire journey. The wins, the losses, the twists, the turns, the ups, the downs, everywhere in between. What makes it special is not only success, but failure and overcoming it. That's life. That's what we all experience every day. And when you get that, then the next day you got to start again, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. Congratulations on a 15-4 year. But when you start training camp again in July, you're starting all over again.
Yep.
You'll have a new roster. You'll have different players. You'll have a lot of returning players, but you'll have new players. And the journey starts all over. And that joyful ride or that painful ride begins again. And it's really hard. Winning's really hard. So for me, the Raptors can't hang their hat on what they did in 2019 because 2019 is not here anymore. Exactly. You're constantly on a new journey. And if you love basketball, there ain't no better place to be and to do it. So to me, I think it's a really neat experience, and I'm happy and honored and privileged to have been a part of it.
Very last question, and then we're gonna take our goodbyes. But one last thing I want to ask you is, who would you like to see on this show? But the only kicker is you have to help us get him, though. Him or her.
Boom.
Wow. I don't have any connections with supermodels, so I would. That's what I would want to see on the show, to get.
Darn it.
To get my hack broadcast colleagues on the show. I mean, they're just my buddies. You know, I mean, you know, they'll say stupid stuff like I do. So I don't know if they're. I'm not very interesting. They're not very interesting. But if I could get you a supermodel, I wish I would know one, but I don't. That would probably be who I'd want to get on the show for you, because your ratings would go through the roof.
Yes, they would.
Yes, they would.
They're going through the roof with me being on there. That's for sure.
No.
Give yourself some more credit. Give yourself some more credit.
Yeah, sure.
Anyways, we just want to say thank you very much for all the time that you took with us today. You know, definitely was great to talk to you and get to hear your story, as well as also hear, you know, what you think of the Toronto Raptors and Canada basketball in itself. We love to be able to hear these stories. Love to be able to hear all this good stuff. So, Jack, one more time, we just want to say thank you for everything. Is there any social medias that people could follow you on?
Well, I'm not a big social media guy, but I guess I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Hello, Jack, I think it is, and we sell I should be wearing my "Get That Garbage Out of Here" shirt, hat, or hello hat right now, but I don't know. Whatever hat was in front of me, I just threw on right now. So, but yeah, you can get the hello hats and T-shirts and sweatshirts and all that. You know, our good friends at Intrippy, and I do memo stuff and all that fun stuff. So you can check it all out. But Stephen and Devontae, really appreciate you having me on. It was an honor and privilege to be on with you. And get that garbage out of here.
Get it out of here. Appreciate you, Jack.
Hey, one more time, just want to say thank you. Make sure everybody follows him on his pages and goes check out his gear and stuff. You know, one last thing we want to say to everybody is make sure to follow, subscribe to our page, and as well as also follow to Jack as well. One more time, we look forward to hearing your voice. Stay safe, stay healthy, and nothing but the best in 2021 for you and your family.
Appreciate it.
Peace.
Take care. Take care.